Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Men Hurt Too. I am your host, Trey Kearney. I'm a certified life coach. I am a boy mom. I'm an author of the book, It's Healing Time, Restoring Hope in Women After Infidelity, and It's Healing Time, Men Hurt Too. And I am an advocate for Black men. Tonight, I am so excited to have one of my favorite therapists on, and he is going to break some things down for us, give us some clarity, give us some direction. And also at the end, he's going to share his information and offer his services because we are not here to play games or we're not here to sugarcoat. We are really here to solve problems and give resources and solutions to the problems that some of us may have. So I'm going to bring my guest in. Hold on, let me get his bio because guess what? I want to read his bio because he is awesome. Y'all know I need my glasses because I can't see without them. So Jason Phillips is a licensed therapist, confidence coach, and college professor who advocates relentlessly for prosperity and wellness to strengthen individuals, couples, families, and communities across the globe. He has been featured in WebMD, Forbes, Fox, NBC, Cosmopolitan, and many more. With over 10 years of experience in the mental health and coaching profession, he is considered an expert in evidence-based treatment and strategic goal setting. Jason Phillips is the owner of Peace and Prosperity Coaching and a host of the Peace and Prosperity podcast. He is highly recommended and sought out for his passion for mental health and personal development. Hey, Jason.
Hey Trey, how you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you here. So the
I
first
am
thing,
super
oh,
excited.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm super excited. So thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. So the first thing I always like to ask my guests or get to know my guests a little bit, just to break the ice so people can get to know you, is just tell me a little bit about your background and your relationship with your parents.
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm from Detroit. I wasn't expecting that. I'm from Detroit, born and raised, and my father my parents were together until we were about six, and then they split. My father was still in my life, but until the age of 13, and after 13 he moved to Florida, so there wasn't a lot of contact with him until then. We were still really close, but my mom and grandma I would say they're the ones who primarily raised me, and I had great relationships with my mom, and also like I said, great relationship with my father too. I really looked up to him and respected him, but my mom is the one who I give the credit to for the man I am today.
Oh, love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Well, our topic tonight, if you just tuned in, I see some of y'all coming in. I'm here with the great therapist, Jason Phillips. First, I gotta say, if you don't follow him on Instagram, tonight I want y'all to follow him on TikTok because he's about to be live and popping over there too. But if you don't follow him on Instagram, he is so inviting. And this is why I love him as a therapist because he could be my therapist because he's real, he's relevant, and he's raw. And he talks to us from a place of truth and you could just relate to him. It's not like a therapist like come in and sit down on the couch. No,
Yeah.
he got jokes. So tonight our
Thank you,
topic
Trey.
is men's emotions. So Jason, tell me what does that really even mean for men? What men's emotions? Do men have emotions? Because a lot of times we think they don't.
Yeah. So yes, we do have emotions, but now we're at the point where we're starting to actually tap into our emotions. As a man myself, I'm working with 90% men in my caseload. And the reason I'm doing so is because men are saying, you know what? I have feelings that I want to express. And I don't just want to walk around stuffing my emotions. It was just today I asked a couple of my male clients a question about some of the trauma that they've been through and things they experienced, and just holding space for them took them to tears. Now, that was not my intention, but just in building that relationship and the rapport with them, getting to know them, we've been through things. And now is the time that we are starting to really dive into what we've been through and actually start the healing journey.
I love it. I have three boys, right? And I'm so, adamant about advocating for black men because black men are first little black boys who mothers like myself single mothers, especially, don't really have the techniques and the skills and the tools that they really need to raise black boys alone. And do we teach our sons early on to suppress their emotions? And what would you tell mothers of single mothers of young black boys now about emotion suppression?
Yes, we do. We teach our young men or boys that, crying is not okay. So just kind of suck it up. And I understand the rationale. You don't want your son to be picked on. You don't want them to be looked upon as being weak. But what happens is those emotions get repressed and then they start to come out in other ways, especially as we get older. So we can't just keep stuffing our emotions. So now we find ourselves more angry, or we find ourselves taking our emotions out in our relationships, the women that we date. And this is because we haven't expressed our emotions from childhood. So when
Mm,
I was hurt, right? When I was embarrassed, when I felt unseen or unheard, I didn't know how to communicate those things. So what did I do? Maybe I started to work out more. Maybe I, had a bunch of different girlfriends, and that was cool at the time. But now I'm 36 years old and I'm single with a bunch of kids because when I was a child, I didn't have the opportunity or the space to say you hurt me and actually feel validated by saying that and not ridiculed.
that's so good already. You starting up already. You
Yeah, I'm ready
mentioned
for this conversation.
you said hurt, embarrassed. A lot of men are uh, labeled angry, and
Hmm.
I heard I think it was a podcast from Brene Brown. I think that's her name. And
Yes.
she talked about how a lot of people, and I'm sure this is true for black men, but you can tell me if it is that. Do you feel like a lot of black men, it's not anger, it's shame?
Yes, because Trey, anger is a secondary emotion.
Oh,
Anger is an emotion that is accepted. So if I'm upset at you, if you say, you know what, Jason, we're not doing this podcast. My bad. I double booked you. It's acceptable for me to be angry and to say, you know what, I'm not messing with Trey. But the reality is behind that anger, I'm hurt. I done prepared. I've told people.
woo!
Now I'm embarrassed. But it's okay for me to say, you know what, screw Trey.
Woo!
It's not as cool for me to say Trey hurt my feelings. I was really looking forward to that.
Mm, this is so good. I hope y'all are listening.
Yeah.
Get your notebooks out. Don't please take notes. And again, I talked about this earlier. When we take notes, when Jason gives us tips and resources, I want us to actually implement what he's telling us. We take a lot of notes, Jason, and then we don't do what we
Hmm.
say in the notes. We don't say, so Jason says, take 10 seconds to breathe when I'm feeling some kind of way. And we just got the notes, and then we take the notebook and we throw it away. When he gives
Hmm.
things to do, I want us to actually apply it to our daily life, because I'm telling you, he's going to give some great nuggets. How do we stop men when we're in relationships? Now, I want to just talk about personal relationships, men and women. How do we
Hmm.
approach our men and help them to stop suppressing emotions that they've been taught to suppress for so long?
So the first thing that we have to do is be able to be validated. Meaning when I say something to you, I want you to hear me. Don't just dismiss what I'm saying or say things that are condescending like, "Oh, you're just being soft," or "Why are you being so emotional?" Okay, well, now I'm getting dogged out for actually saying that my feelings are hurt. But if I just storm out or I shut down, that's a problem too. So when I try to come to you with what I'm feeling, actually hear me. And oftentimes it's not what you say or what you're doing, but it's how you're listening. Are you
Mm,
listening with your arms folded? Are you kind of like rolling your neck, rolling your eyes? Or do you have an inviting posture that's going to allow me to say more? Because as men, sometimes we don't know exactly how to express what we feel. The feelings are there, but we're still searching for the words. because when we're trying to express our emotions, we're also thinking, I don't want to sound soft. I don't want to be weak, but I want to answer the question and really let her know how I'm feeling.
Wow. Is there, and I have these are my notes too. I'm gonna stick with my notes because I could go on a tangent
Mm,
because you said some good stuff, but I am gonna ask some further questions and we're gonna answer some questions in the comments when we get a minute.
mhm.
Is there is what is healthy for men when it comes to non-communication, right? Because we as women, we make everything about us. When a man shuts down, when he doesn't feel like talking, we'll make it about us. What is there a level of health, like a healthy level when a man is not communicating?
Yeah, again, it's yes, it is. And sometimes we have to just kind of take a pause and figure out what we're feeling. So if you and I are having a conversation, we're having a heart to heart. I may not know exactly what is bothering me. And sometimes I may need to check in with myself, check in with my therapist, my coach, and come back and revisit the conversation. So if I say, hey babe, I need a minute to really collect my thoughts. I'm not trying to shut down or walk away. I really do need a minute so that I can gather what I'm saying and what I'm feeling. Sometimes as men, we know how to do is people please and keep our partners, parents, friends, keep everybody happy. So now
Woo!
when it's time to talk about me, I'm not always sure what I want because my wants have been predicated on making sure you're happy.
Wow, that was my next
Mhm.
question. How you all in my notes? Like, you jumped ahead of the game. That's one of my questions. And my question is, are we unconsciously, as mothers and fathers, as parents,
Mhm.
teaching our men to be people pleasers at an early age?
Oh, for sure. And I can just speak from my own experience. Like growing up, it was always make sure, you take care of everyone else. Make sure you're a gentleman. Make sure you're respectful. Which, not saying it meant this verbatim, but the way we internalize that is your needs come second, third. Put yourself on the back burner. Make sure you're showing up for everybody else. Do this for your family. As men, I remember my grandmother before I got married. She said, "Make sure you are a provider, a protector, and a teacher at all times." And I'm thankful for those words of wisdom, but also it leaves out what do I need?
Wow,
Because right now I'm just thinking about being a provider, protector, and a teacher.
a people pleaser. And we don't think
Yeah,
about things until we get older into, further into adulthood because I never thought, talking to my boys and telling them, you need to take care of this, you need to make sure you do this for that. I never felt until now like, wow, I really taught them how to be people pleasers. And how do they turn that off and begin to love themselves and respect themselves and set boundaries? Because
yeah.
how do we is that a problem too, us teaching our young men and the men in our lives to set boundaries, and how important is that for you guys?
It's so important, and we have to set boundaries and just have balance too, because there's nothing wrong with teaching your young men to take care of others, but at the same time, we have to have the balance between taking care of others and taking care of ourselves. Because if we're only doing things for other people, that's when life becomes imbalanced, and then what'll happen is that little person will start to act out because I'm doing everything for, my family, for my partner, for my career. So I'm being responsible, but I have some other needs too, some personal needs, but they're not being met. So there's a way that we can strategically take care of ourselves while still being that provider and protector and taking care of our families too.
Wow. We tell everybody else to put the mask on first, but the black man. You
And
just
we suffocate. I mean, we talking about that, Trey. I'm talking about in my session, some of my brothers they say, look, man, I'm tired of wearing the mask.
wow.
They
Yeah.
really say that verbatim. And I
Wow.
don't I don't I don't key it up. That's coming right out their mouth.
Wow. That's just it's just you know what, just over the last 5 months of sharing the data that I've collected over 7 years about black men and just actually coming on TikTok with one video and having like 25,000 men follow me, just their comments of depression, just their comments of
Mhm.
nobody cares about me, just their comments to me. Trey, they ain't gonna listen to you. These women not gonna listen to you. I'm like, yes, they are. But again, like we were talking
Mhm.
behind backstage, they are proving me wrong when I came to them to say, listen, not all women are like that, and you're wrong. But now it's like I was wrong. You understand?
Yeah, yeah, because we like women say some things and it sticks to men. Like we don't forget these things. That's what I think women sometimes ignore or we don't give enough light to. Like when y'all say certain things, we're holding on to it.
Wow. Wow, ladies, get your notebooks out. Did you hear? Did y'all hear what he said? Did y'all hear what the doctor said? Did you hear what the therapist? Like
The,
this is not. I just want people to understand this is not like somebody, some random, and nothing against brothers coming up to you, but this is a licensed therapist that who was
mhm,
constantly talking to black men, constantly collecting data. So this is data driven, right? So
mhm,
Dr. Phillips is not pulling this out of the sky and saying this is personally me. This is things that he
no.
hears in his office all day that I'm tired of wearing this mask. I can't breathe.
Yes, yeah, we're saying it.
And we
It-
say that women are emotional creatures, right? I hear this all the time. We get
mhm.
forgiven because we're emotional creatures. So when we say that, do you think that overshadows the fact that men even deal with emotions?
Yes, because men, we have emotions. But this what's happening is we don't always feel safe enough to express it. But men will tell you when we're around other men and we feel safe, we talk about what's really hurting us.
Mm,
Now it's not everybody, it's not like in group, but when it's that one-on-one conversation, this is why you hear a lot of brothers saying they are so close to their barber. Think
yes.
about it like this. The proximity, when you're getting your hair cut, he's not 10, 20 feet away.
Woo!
He's right up on you.
Mm,
And the beauty of it is, I don't have to look that barber in the eye as I'm telling him about the stuff I'm going through. So I can
wow.
just pour it all out. He can respond while he's tightening up my lineup or whatever. And we dialogue about it and we can go on about our way. But in that chair, oh, we feel so comfortable. And
Wow.
because not everybody in the barber shop, because the barber shops are slapping, this dinners being sold and people
Yeah.
talking about sports. But in that 4x4 circle or whatnot.
Hmm. Yes. Oh, we've got a little interference. He'll be back in 1 second. Did y'all hear what Dr. Jason Phillips is saying? There is a space of intimacy in barbershops that men get to actually experience where they can be free to speak about the things that are happening to them. So I want you guys to take notes and I want you to follow Dr. Jason Phillips on Instagram and I want you to follow him on TikTok. Are you back? I'm sorry, we had a little
I'm back.
interference.
Yep, I'm
It's okay.
back. Thank you. Thank you.
So I was saying that in that barbershop, and Edward Brown said that's true. In that barbershop, there's that little intimate space of vulnerability.
Oh yeah, huge, huge.
Yes.
Because we get a chance to talk about what's going on in our mind, like what's going on in our relationship, what's going on at work. Um, I found my therapist from my barber. My barber didn't know I was a therapist, and he was talking about his therapy experience, and I said, you know what, man, I'm looking for a black male, and he said, yeah, man, I know a good brother, because I'm in North Carolina now, so we didn't have that super close connection yet, so he didn't know what I do, but
Right.
yeah, we're talking about it.
That's good. I love that. And again, I said this earlier to folks when you looking for a therapist, I'm gonna need you to know who your therapist is. Because some people are being therapists and they ain't being therapized.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
And that's a problem. So let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
Do black men lack empathy because they're really exposed to it? Like nobody's empathetic to them. So do they lack empathy because of that?
I think we're afraid. I don't think we lack it, but we're afraid to actually. Some of us are afraid to be that vulnerable because
Right.
are you gonna ridicule me? Are you gonna think less of me if I really show you or tell you what I have going on? Like we go through stuff,
Right.
but we know y'all go through stuff too. So we're trying to make sure we're holding it down and we don't want to come in and just quote unquote dump. So what we're doing is we're stuffing it.
Mm.
And then usually what'll happen is, you know, maybe there's an argument about the dishes or the trash, something like minuscule, but this brother's been stuffing what he's got going on for a while now. So you've been letting yours out all along, and he's been taking it, taking it, taking it. So now it's
And
like that one thing, it's like, oh yeah, and it all just erupts.
ooh, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I
There it
call
is.
it, the pressure cooker. And
Mm-hmm.
Purvis Taylor, I love him so much. He said
Oh
something.
yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, he said something to me that stuck with me for a long time. He said, men, and I think he read it in a book when I was interviewing him. I think he said he read it in a book that the author said, men scream at a frequency that only they can hear. And that took
Mm-hmm.
me out like a dog whistle. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow. So they are, he said, screaming on the inside because they're not
Yeah.
allowed to emote. I was just like, wow, like this is so sad for our brothers. So my next question is, why do men lack vulnerability? Because we're saying to you, we're saying it,
Yeah.
you can be vulnerable with me. It's time for black men to be vulnerable. So why is it still a problem now that, more therapy is going on for black men? Therapy is out there now. Therapy is not you got a therapist because you're crazy. Now it's acceptable. But why are black men still reluctant to be vulnerable when it's offered to them?
Because we're still not trusting, is my vulnerability, is it really, are you saying it or do you mean it? Because we say a lot of things, but we don't always mean what we say. So when you say, hey, be vulnerable, but I want you to actually hold the space for me to be vulnerable and not throw this back up in my face,
Mm.
or not dismiss what I'm saying when I'm being vulnerable.
Ooh.
Sometimes, it gets ping pong. So I may put something out there about what I'm feeling, and now all of a sudden, it's back on what you going through.
Uh-oh.
So now it's like, okay, well, I teed it up, and you just say, nah, we're not going there. So now I feel dismissed.
Oh, this is so good. And we were
Yeah,
talking
and
Yeah, we were talking about the double standards, and we were talking about women who, they change the situation around to, well, what about me? What about me? What
hmm
about me? Meanwhile, your issue is still not dealt with. So, what can we as women do to get our own selves out of that space?
start put yourself in that man's shoes.
Mm.
Really, because think about it. When women are talking to other women, at least is what I've observed. Women are not necessarily offering advice. Women are sitting back listening. This is why y'all can talk for hours and hours and hours, because all y'all are doing is listening to each other. And
Woo!
a lot of times there's not a lot of judgment going on. So the women feel safe to just tell you more, tell you more. Oh girl, this happened to you. Oh girl, oh girl, oh so but with men, we're trying to say, okay, where's the solution? It's like, well, the man probably got his own solutions that he's wanting to, implement. But at this time, he just wants to feel heard. He's just trying to connect with you. We don't need the advice or you telling us it's not that deep, because you're not telling your friends that. You're telling your friend, "Hey, I can't believe that happened to you." You're
I'm
empathetic towards the
I'm like,
right? You're empathetic. So they feel safe and supported.
oh,
But
so
when the man does not feel safe and supported, he's not going to tell you that much more. And remember this too. He's going to subconsciously remember how you responded. So the next time you ask him, "Hey babe, how was your day? What you got going on?" "Oh, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm straight."
that's
Because last time it was just like, "Oh, you need to get over that."
wow. So what I'm hearing you say, because I really want
hmm
the women to get this. I really want my sisters to get this. We lack empathy when it comes to our significant other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Whoa.
Because we're not holding space for them the same way we do, or the same way you do with your girlfriends or your family members, and we feel that.
Wow. A lot of people think that black men lack self-awareness and accountability, right? I've been talking on my platform. I like to hold women accountable for their partner breakdown of a relationship because I
Hmm.
see like 999 million platforms holding black men accountable. So somebody sent me this video of a young lady saying that, men are never held accountable. And I'm like, there's 999 million platforms with men being
Yeah.
held accountable. And do men lack self-awareness and accountability?
We are being held accountable like none other. We feel like we cannot fail. Like, and this is coming from other men too, because just like women hold men accountable, men hold men accountable.
Mm,
I'll never forget this. When I got married, my barber, and this was from a loving and supportive manner that he told me, but he said, "All right, Jay, I'm gonna tell you, like, as the man, it's still your responsibility. I don't care if your wife work or not. Like, if something go wrong, you gotta, take care of that. She can go blow her money on weave or trips or whatever, but as for you, you have to make sure you got it. That's just what the
mm.
responsibility that us men carry. So
Ooh,
men are holding men accountable all the time.
please say
So when
that again.
women come and hold it, when y'all hold us accountable, it's just like icing on the cake because we're already being held accountable in our own inner circles.
And I saw this. I went to My boy invited me over to their football Sunday. They do like this brotherhood
Hmm.
launch, and it was like 50 men, 40 to 50 men. And I went and I did some a live Men Hurt Too interview Sunday. And the amount of brotherhood and accountability that was out there, everybody was nobody wasn't doing nothing wrong, Jason. And I swear, excuse me for swearing, but
Yeah.
us as women, it was 40 men out there. I know at least 15 of their wives was at home like he doing this and he doing that. Them brothers was not, they was tailgating. They all had their coolers, they all had their chairs, they was watching football, they was frying fish. Nobody was talking unruly. It wasn't no strippers on no poles. I'm trying to tell
Yeah.
you, all of them had good jobs. Everybody had a nice car. And I said, I can't believe I'm out here. Check this with 50 men,
Hmm.
right? 50 men, and I'm cute. I
Right.
ain't
Right.
porn or nothing like that. I'm cute. I
Right.
take care of myself. I carry myself well. Not one of those men, Jason, disrespected me, pushed up on me, married, single, engaged, dating, otherwise. None of them. They knew I was there for a
Wow.
reason. My boy Dorian, who invited me, said, my girl coming over here, she's gonna do some interviews. Not one of them. But the things that people say about black men, you would think that every man in there was vying for my attention, groping me, pulling me.
Hmm.
Not one of them. So I just wanted to put that out there because you said black men hold black men accountable. Can y'all please stop
Yeah.
acting like black men are encouraging each other to be dogs and dirt? Go ahead.
No, we're not. We're not. Again, takes me to a time we were at Buffalo Wild Wings for a fundraiser once, and my cousin was there. Hope he not watching this. But anyway, he saw a young lady that he thought was attractive, and I said, "No, cuz this not the time for that. We here for a fundraiser." And he respected that. He took heed to it because I felt as an older cousin, it was my time or my responsibility to look out and kind of hold him accountable. So we do things like that all the time to make sure that we keep each other in check.
Wow. I just love this
Yeah,
conversation.
all the time.
If you tuned in, you just tuned into Men Hurt Too. I'm here with Dr. Jason Phillips. He is a licensed therapist and he is a wealth of knowledge. He is a black male therapist. And speaking on that, now that I said that, how important is it for black men to actually associate with black male therapists?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. Like I'm realizing it more now in my over 10 years than I ever have because now we can come into the session and we already get certain things. We already know, okay, this is what you probably experienced growing up. Or if you're experiencing this in your household, whether it was single mom or two parent, we get each other and we
Mm,
hold space for each other. Like before, I was working with mostly women. and this wasn't necessarily by choice, but this is who was seeking me out. But as I said, now my caseload is 90% black men who want to be held accountable, like who want to be, as one person said, the LeBron James of my clients, because that's how motivated they are to do the work on themselves.
Did y'all hear that? Because this is another thing, Jason, right? This
Hmm.
I used to always say this, Jason. Ladies, and this is what my mother used to tell me. Tracy, that's my government, and nobody better not ever call me that because only my mama called me that. She ain't here no more. She said, "Listen, black men." Oh, I lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about? Because I got to get this point out.
Black men seeking out black
Yeah,
men to work with them.
yes. Be careful what you ask for. That was the point. My mother always said, "Be careful what you
Hmm.
ask for," because a lot of black men are seeking therapy, and they're growing, they're healing,
Oh
they're
yeah,
they're communicating, and they leaving us because we
yes.
ain't. So be careful what you wish for. I'm sorry, Mom. I've lost my train of thought thinking about you, but we out here saying as black women, black men don't get therapy. Go get therapy. Go get therapy. And they go on to get it. And now a lot
Hmm.
of us are upset because you're actually taking accountability for loving yourself. And
Yeah,
you're
one of my I'm not giving you all these stories, but one of my good friends said this, and I really appreciate what he said. He said, "Man, as black men, we put up with a lot." He wasn't downing what we put up with. He was just saying, we just got to put everything and sweep it under the rug. We forget the term, but like basically let it go.
yes.
We let that go. We let that go. We let that go. And he was saying this from a place of like, this is just what we do for our black women.
Mm, mm.
And this is why we see some black men dating outside their race, because they don't have to let all that stuff go.
Wow. Oh, ooh, some of y'all gonna
Yeah.
be on the ride home.
Yep,
That
yep,
stung me a little bit.
yeah.
That's real talk.
And
That's
he
real.
and he wasn't saying it like he was trying to switch it up. He was just saying, man, we put up with a lot. That's just what we do for our women.
Right. Because a lot of us, and I'm saying this to my black women, I'm saying this to my sisters out of love, a lot of us seek therapy and we seek therapy to fix other people. So we're
Oh
at,
my gosh.
you know what I'm saying? Am I crazy? But we're at the
I just
therapist not to get help for ourselves, but to go home and tell our man, you know what my therapist said?
Trey, you two things. One, you would not imagine the amount of calls that I've received where they're saying, "Hey, I want to do couples work." But really, what I want you to do is tell him all the stuff that I want him to do. I said, that's not how this works. They're like, in the consultation, they're very blunt about that. I was like, that's not how this works. Second thing, I just posted a video today on how can I get my loved one to go to therapy. And the things I said was, one, you can't get anybody to do anything they don't want to do. So be realistic with your expectations. Two, be mindful of why do you want them to seek out therapy? And whatever that reason is, communicate that in a loving and supportive way. And then lastly, make sure you are seeking out your own healing, because
Mm.
the best thing is to lead by example.
Wow. Wait a minute. That
Hmm.
was so good. Listen here. I'm telling you, I know a lot of women that go to therapy, and a lot of men have told me this too about therapy and church. They said the
Hmm.
reason I don't go to therapy and the reason why I don't go to church because it ain't working for her.
Mm.
What I'm going for, if you've been going for 7 years and you still in this house yelling and screaming, you still in here what I ain't doing, you still in here acting a fool, and you going to therapy and church?
Yeah,
You might need to leave the therapist and that church because something in there is not working for you.
so I'm not
And
working.
I want to really just point that point out that you just said. When you are expecting wanting your loved one to go to therapy, make sure you're going for the right reason. Because I hear many women say this, Jason, and I don't know if you get this sometimes. I'm in a toxic relationship, and they're saying that the man is toxic. But if you're in a
Yeah.
toxic relationship, it takes two people to be in a toxic relationship because healthy people leave.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Yes. Yes.
Do your own work. Don't just put it on that person.
Yeah, a lot of men are saying this and they're being vocal. And these are men are in therapy, men are getting help or saying that don't say nothing to them, Trey, because women don't like accountability. They're gonna get you, they're gonna eat you up. And I'm like,
Uh, a friend of mine, Anita Baker was touring, and he said, "Man, I'm loving this because this gonna be the first time you gonna ever hear a bunch of women say I apologize when they go to that concert."
so it was three things I asked you, three things that I want to make sure we touched on as far as you're concerned. So I asked you three things we would talk about. And one of them was Black men seeking therapy helps the entire family, relationships, and their career. Please talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, because the more we work on ourselves, the better off we're going to be holistically. So if on my own healing journey, then I'm a better person. If I'm a better person, I'm a better provider. So now I'm not being triggered as much at work, or I'm not calling out because I'm doing my own work. So what happens? I end up making more money, having promotions, growing my business, all of those things. I'm more successful. So then the family benefits from that. Another reason the family benefits, if I'm learning how to process my emotions, when I'm frustrated or upset with you, I can now communicate this in a loving way. So meaning I'm not passing on, my unhealthy behaviors onto my offspring or my partner.
I love, love, love,
Mhm.
love, love that. And the second thing was, and this is so good. I'm just gonna let you run with this. That Black men wait until a significant problem comes before they seek therapy. What would you say to them, and talk more about that because this is so important.
Yeah. We have to start getting our healing early. I'm going to say this: prevention is better than treatment.
Mm,
I'm gonna say it one more time. Prevention is better than treatment. So seek out your therapist, seek out your coach before the big life event happens. Because when you wait until you lose your job or you lose your partner, you're about to lose your kids, all of these things, now we have to do crisis work. So I don't
mm,
know you. We have to build up trust and rapport with each other. And then we can start to actually peel back the layers and get to the root of the problem. Whereas if you come in before something is necessarily wrong, now we're just vibing. I'm helping you grow. We're looking at some blind spots. Okay, maybe you want to do some things here or navigate this differently. So when those life events do happen, because they happen to all of us,
mm.
death may happen, losses may happen, but now you already have the skills to navigate those things. Because another thing is, frankly, we're booked. So when you come in and say, I need to be seen ASAP, okay, well, I can get you in next week or maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or I can refer you out. So I would hate to have that happen to you. So if you seek out the care before something happens, you'll be well equipped. When life hits you, you can just bounce back, kind of like ride it out, and still be on your journey.
I wasn't even expecting that, but that was the best thing I've heard in a long, long time. That was awesome. Prevention is better than treatment because then you end up in a crisis. Did y'all hear that?
Right.
Drops the mic. Please don't be afraid to get help. It is not a sign of weakness. It is actually a sign of strength. And this is September, and this is Suicide Awareness Month, Suicide Prevention Month.
Mhm. Yes, yes, it is. It is.
Talk about that because you said suicide is rising faster in Black men than any other racial ethnicity. So please explain, talk about that. This is
It
good.
is. It is. It is. It's so unfortunate, but it's something that we just have to talk about. That's why I wanted to highlight it today. We think that by not talking about suicide is going to stop suicide from happening, but that's not the case. It's okay to ask somebody, how are you doing? Like, for real, how are you doing? Have space for them. And then also remember this: you, meaning like you as the brother, the friend, the uncle, the father, you alone are not enough to stop somebody from or to keep somebody alive. So meaning you have to utilize hotlines, therapists, support system, churches. Like it needs a whole village to help if somebody's dealing with suicidal thoughts. And I think we're just not getting the help. A lot of times when someone does die by suicide, you'll find that they were not in care with a therapist.
Wow. So, how do you, I mean, nobody wants to talk about suicide. Like, nobody wants to come to somebody and say, are you feeling suicidal? Or to even put that thought into somebody's, you know what I'm saying? So, it's a scary conversation. Like, how do you even start the conversation?
This is one of those conversations, Trey, that I'm gonna say you just have to do it. And you have to sometimes do it ugly.
Mm,
Because if you are concerned or you even think that somebody may have suicidal thoughts, they may be thinking about taking their life, they may be in a bad space, you may not have the words or the time or the tools to formulate just the uh, you know, well thought out response.
right.
So you may just want to straight up ask them, "Hey, bro, I'm concerned about you, man. How are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking about hurting yourself? Have you had thoughts of harming yourself? Like, just talk to me. Don't worry about all the time like how it's coming across because if you ask somebody, are they thinking about hurting themselves? That and if they weren't, that's not gonna make them do it. If I ask you, Trey, like you want some sushi, if you don't eat sushi, you like, nah, no, I'm good. And you're gonna
Right.
go back on, eat your cake, whatever your.
Right.
So
Yes.
me asking you about it, now if you were already thinking about it,
Right.
that's different. But if I'm asking you about it, but that's not a thought that you have, that's not gonna make you start thinking about it. And I think a lot of times we think by asking someone that's gonna provoke them. But that's
Right.
not the case.
I like that. So if you are experiencing, and one more question,
Hmm.
what are the signs of depression? Like, what should we be looking for, especially in Black men?
In black men, it looks differently too. So I'm glad you asked that because we are really skilled at hiding what we're going through. So one thing that you can look for is isolation. So not picking up the phone as much, not hanging out as much, making the conversations more short. Maybe you talk to your person once a week or every couple weeks, but now it's been months since you've heard from them. Or typically y'all meet up on the weekends, but now they're like, "Nah, bro, I'm good." Any signs of isolation, you want to look further at, what's going on behind that. Another sign is overworking. So
Mm,
you're picking up so many extra hours. You just grind, grind, grind. So now what's happening is you're not getting sleep, and your body eventually will start to break down.
mm,
Another sign will be, you know, any type of hyper sexual behavior. So if you notice somebody is doing more than what they normally do, if this is just how they are, I get it. But sometimes we're depressed and we like to treat our depression by getting up under or on top of somebody else.
ooh, that self-medicating. Y'all better you
Yeah,
watch out. So could that self-medicating be also alcohol, drugs, pornography, and different things that they're just overindulging in?
for sure, for sure. And even also working out too. Like we can just overdo it there. Anything, any behavior that's gonna allow us to avoid dealing with our core issues.
Mm. Ooh, wee, that's good. I love this. I love this
Mhm.
conversation. And we have the suicide hotline up here because, it is getting towards the holidays again. Is the suicide rate higher than, or I think somebody told me that that wasn't true, but we have the suicide hotline number up. It's 1-800-273-8255 in case you are feeling like you need help or you want to hurt yourself or harm yourself and you don't want to go to family and friends because you're not trusting them. This is private. 1-800-273-8255. So please call for help. It is not a crime. Nobody's going to know. And if you have people in your life who have come to you and you're not equipped, because for some of us, Jason, this is above our pay grade. Like for you,
Oh, of course.
yeah, a lot of us, we will push somebody off the bridge with our words. So I just want people to be mindful. if your loved one is exhibiting depression and things of that nature, do not try to fix them. Direct them to a licensed clinician, a licensed therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist. Don't do it yourself. Not a coach. And I want people to understand, because sometimes people get coaches and therapists mixed up. I'm a coach. Suicide is
Yeah.
above my pay grade. I get some clients who
Mhm.
come to me and they're talking about, I'm feeling depressed, and I'm like, let me refer you to one of my therapists that I work with, because that's above my pay grade. So, what were you gonna
Yeah.
say?
No, no, thank you, Trey, for putting that out there. I was gonna say, dang, I kind of lost my train of thought too.
It's okay, because this is a
Oh,
deep.
oh, it was you asked about the holidays too. So
Yes,
another stressor is financial stress.
yes,
That when we feeling like, oh man, the holidays are coming up. I can't make it home, or I can't get all of this. Like we pride ourselves on being able to provide and have those things. So we do need to check in with people more around those times, because the holidays are not super jolly and great times for all of us.
yes. And again,
Yeah.
too, and we're speaking about men's emotions. A lot of times people don't realize, like, I'll have people call me during the holidays because I lost my mother many years ago. 2 years, 2020, I lost my brother in a motorcycle accident. So I'll have
Mm.
people calling me as a woman to say, I know it's the holidays, but we have to start doing that for our brothers. Like, we really got to start
Yeah.
on our brothers. Like, I know you lost your dad. You know what I'm saying? But we
Yeah.
don't do that
Yeah.
with men. Why do you think
No,
that
we
we
don't.
don't do that? Why don't we do that for the men?
We think that men can just like suck it up and we're good.
Hmm.
I don't think that we as a society have been conditioned to check on men.
Right.
So like let's say for instance, two little kids are playing, boy and a girl. If they both run, boom, they run into each other's bikes or whatever, they both on the ground. More than likely, people are telling that boy, "Hey man, get up," and then they're going to pick up the girl to carry her back to safety.
Wow.
And there's, and this is not, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying like that person, but this is how we've been conditioned.
And mm,
Yeah, we've been conditioned. It is what it is right now. So we've been conditioned. Hey man, get up, like get back on it, ride it. Bro, he could be bleeding down his legs.
right?
They're like, hey man, just hey, wipe that off, keep it going. But with her, you're like, hey, take your time, make sure you look for signs. Like,
Let's get a
so
Band-Aid.
that's
Yeah.
yeah,
And I've
yeah.
experienced this. Once I was at an autism event, many years ago,
Hmm.
father out with his son, and his son fell down the bleachers. The little boy probably was about 5 or 6. And when I tell you
Hmm.
he fell, Jason, he fell. His knee was bleeding. I went and got the first aid kit from the my support group, and he was like,
Hmm.
get up." And I just had to say something. I said, "Yo, like, can I say something?" And he was like, "Sure." I was like, he hurt, he bleeding. And we had like a real conversation. He was like, "You know what, you're right." Because he didn't even realize, because that's what was done to him.
Exactly.
He
That's what
bleeds.
was done to us. Like we were used to like playing through blood.
Woo! Come on.
Seriously, we didn't stop the game. Like, of course, now you take some precautions, but you didn't stop the game or stop playing. Mm-mm. You
Wow.
throw some water on it, as long as you're not getting like you just keep going.
Just keep going. And I want to ask this question too, because we know that a lot of men are in therapy and a lot of women are in therapy too now. And a lot of
Hmm.
us have suffered childhood trauma. A lot of us have suffered adult trauma, even breakups and funerals and family feuds and all of that. How do you know that you are healing from trauma?
Oh, this is a good one. This is you all over so I have an Instagram post about this too, but I'll say speak more elaborately about it. One way is that you are able to acknowledge the trauma,
Mm,
because most times with trauma we don't like to talk about it. It's something that we keep suppressed, we keep it tucked away. It's not something where you introduce yourself and say, "Hey, I'm Brandon, and this is all the stuff I've been through." Typically, you don't talk about that trauma unless you feel safe or you're prompted to. So, if you're able to acknowledge the trauma, that's one sign that you're healing from trauma. Another sign is that the triggers don't last as long. I'm not going to say that you're never triggered, but the duration of it and the intensity, you're able to manage that a lot better. Sometimes we're triggered from something, a past trauma, and it can sit with us for hours or days, weeks at a time. But now those same triggers no longer elicit the same responses from you.
Wow, this is good stuff, y'all. I hope that y'all are taking notes. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into Men Hurt Too. And my guest, Jason Phillips, is here. He's a licensed therapist, and he's here to enlighten us on some things, to let us know about, how to recognize when someone is having depression, is in depression, to how to relate to our men a little bit better, based on his not
Mhm.
only his experiences, but his expertise as a therapist in talking to men, Black men, all the time. So, what is one thing that you want to say to Black men right now in the climate that we're in? What would you like to, like, almost, because we're going to start to end this, but what would you like to
Sure.
say to Black men who are reluctant about therapy, those in therapy, and those who are really on a journey of healing?
Yeah. So one thing I would say for the brothers who are already in therapy, keep going. If you are already putting the time and energy and resources into your own healing, stick with it. Because I know sometimes you may feel like, oh, I don't need to go today, or I don't want to go today. But continue to do that work because that is an investment in yourself, which is the biggest investment that you can make. For the brothers who are skeptical about therapy, you're on the fence about it. You're not sure if this is going to be for you or not. Give it a try. Like, and then just don't stick with the first person. If it's not a good vibe or it's not a good match, that's okay. We do the same thing with barbers. We have a bad barber. We don't stop getting our hair cut. We just find the one that is for us.
Yes. Brothers, therapy is okay. Therapy is good. Coaching is good, right? I have a
Yeah,
lot
I'm a coach too.
I have a lot more male clients now because they like to be coached, right?
Hmm.
But I do need my Black men that are listening, and anybody who is with a coach. I do need you to hear this, that there is a difference between therapy and coaching. I am a coach. I get you from where you are to where you're trying to go. Therapists help you with deep down rooted things that you've been through, trauma. That is above. If you have a coach who was dealing with some childhood trauma, that is above their pay grade. And I'm always saying this, Jason, because I really need people to understand that coaching and therapy is very different. Like, I have not been trained for a person
Hmm.
who's dealing with depression. I have not been
Hmm.
trained to deal with a person who's suicidal. I have not been
Yeah.
trained to deal with a person who's been molested. So a lot of people
Hmm.
are with coaches and they ended up more damaged than healed. So when
Yeah.
I'm coaching, we go through our 15-minute consultation, which is really usually an hour, which I got to stop.
Right. Yeah. I know.
As soon as I hear trigger words, I'm like, I'll call. I've referred people to Jay Barnett, or I've called him to say, hey,
Hmm.
said this, Jay, and he's like, okay, let me send them here. I'm overbooked again, brothers. Get in therapy now because these Black male therapists are overbooked. And the holidays are going to be more swamped. And I just want you to know the difference between coaching. We get you from where you are to where you're trying to go. Goal setting, planning,
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
your trauma. So you can talk a little more about that.
No, Trey, you broke it down, and what I love about you as a coach is that you know your lane and you respect the differences between coaching and therapy. And the thing is, we need both of them.
Yes.
This is why we talk about prevention is better than treatment. Because
Yes.
as a coach myself, I love being able to show up in those spaces. But I
Yes.
also know that there are times when people seek me out for coaching, and I say, you know what, you need therapy.
Right.
And that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
And
But
I tell
yeah, we need them all.
my clients all the time, the ones who need therapy, I say, we're gonna get you a therapist, and me and the therapist will work hand in hand. But
Hmm.
have to get a therapist because your money's no good here. I'm sorry, I don't be
Yeah,
playing around with people's lives because when we're dealing with certain issues, like you said, the suicide rate for Black men is growing higher than any other race.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you can't I can't be the one that push you over the edge. And another thing, your coach is not supposed to tell you what to do either. They're supposed to
Mm-mm.
request. May I make a suggestion? I really believe that you need therapy, and it's above my pay grade to go any further with you. But if you, because some of them are pushy, Trey, I really want to work
Yeah.
with you. I had one guy call me from a hospital, a mental hospital, because he was watching me like
Yeah.
a comedian. He loved me, but I said, you gotta stick with your doctors, you gotta stick with your therapist, because I cannot touch that. And when you're better and you can bring me a note from your therapist that says you're equipped to handle life again, then we're
hmm
together. Go ahead, Jason.
And it's not. No, I will say a couple things. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes I put it where therapy helps you to make sure you're functioning, and coaching may help you to flourish.
Yes. Woo! I love it. Flourish. Come
Yeah,
on.
you go ahead, take. But then I
You.
will also say, if you, for people who are listening, check out the episode on my podcast. I think it was episode 19 or 21, Peace and Prosperity podcast with Dr. Purvis, because we talked about the differences between therapy and coaching, and we also talked about the similarities.
Yes. Yes.
And
Because
then, yeah, they are close. And then there was one more thing I was gonna say to you, but you've been saying so much, so many gems. We were
no,
talking about the therapist. Oh, and just having the
yes.
boundaries with your clients too. Like that is
Yes.
so important
Just
because
talk about
sometimes,
that, please.
yeah, we have to remember that we are professionals and we're not friends to our clients. So we may be friendly, but we're not friends. And that's
Yes.
so important. So when we make suggestions or when we help you with the goal setting, or as therapists helping you process the trauma, we're going to challenge you in some ways to help you to grow. And this is why we do what we do, because we want to see you get those results. When you're in the gym and you're working out with your friend, that's different than when you're working out with your trainer, because your
Woo!
trainer is pushing you. You
Mm.
mad at your trainer, but you go back because you know they're going to help you get the results. That's the same thing with your therapist or your coach. You may be upset at us sometimes because we are pushing you emotionally to grow. And then, you rest, you get your healing, and then you see those emotions grow.
Yes, I love this so much.
Yeah.
Please tell everybody where they can find you. If you have any books, any programs, please just let them tap in, tune in, and get the help that they need.
Yes. So thank you for having me, Trey. They can find me on Instagram and TikTok at J Phillips MSW. And then also they can listen to my podcast, the Peace and Prosperity Podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you want to work with me, visit my website, jasonlphillips.com.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you. We'll be back next week with another brother that's going to rock your socks too. As usual, we are here to give resources, sound advice, and to just help our Black brothers grow and to give women a better understanding that Black men heal too, Black men hurt too.
Mhm.
So men hurt too. Always remember that men hurt too, and to always just, oh, this is my end right here. Be the best version of yourself, no matter what anybody else is doing, and you will bring out the best in other people around you. Peace and blessings, and we will see you next week for Men Hurt Too. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.